Nevertheless, the Puritans were totally opposed to Christmas. And in fact, between the years 1659 and 1681, if anyone was caught in Massachusetts keeping Christmas, they were thrown into jail. It was illegal to keep Christmas in Puritan America. Absolutely forbidden, because it was heresy. What are you celebrating December 25th for? That's a pagan holiday. It has nothing to do with Christianity. Until today, there are groups in Europe that do not celebrate December 25th as Jesus' birthday, because everybody knows this is not his birthday. Unfortunately, the most depraved customs of the Saturnalia became Christian customs, and they were practiced vigorously by the Catholic Church. In 1466, Pope Paul, for the amusement of his Roman citizens, arranged for the events of Saturnalia on December 25th to include forcing the Jews to run naked through the streets of the city. So we have an eyewitness report from a Christian who was present at the festivities. And he writes as follows. Before they were to run, the Jews were richly fed so as to make the race more difficult for them, and at the same time much more amusing for we spectators. They ran amid Rome's taunting shrieks and peals of laughter, while the Holy Father, the Pope, stood upon a richly ornamented balcony and laughed heartily. That was how Christmas used to be celebrated. These sorts of Saturnalia celebrations were conducted by Christians straight through the 18th and 19th century. During the 18th and 19th century, the rabbis of the ghetto in Rome were forced to wear clownish outfits and march through the streets to the jeers of the crowd, pelted by a variety of missiles, quote unquote, and we know what those were. When the Jewish community of Rome sent a petition in 1836 to Pope Gregory XVI, begging him to stop the annual Saturnalia abuse of the Jewish community, he responded, quote, "It is not opportune to make any innovation right now." And the Saturnalia was left in place. On December 25th, 1881, Christian leaders whipped the Polish masses into anti-Semitic frenzies, and that led to riots across the country. In Warsaw, there were 12 Jews that were murdered. There were hundreds of Jews who were maimed or wounded, and dozens of Jewish women who were raped. There were 2 million rubles worth of property destroyed. That was a classic European Christmas celebration. And that's the way it had always been celebrated from Rome straight through the 19th century in Europe. So that's the history of Christmas. Now what about the Christmas observances, the things that we're all familiar with? For instance, Christmas trees. So it's well known that there is no source in any Christian literature for Christmas trees. What are Christmas trees? They were attempting in the Near East to attract members of a group called the Asherah cult. The Asherah cult were people who worshipped trees. And what they used to do was they used to bring, once a year, they used to bring trees into their homes, and they would decorate them with candles and put all sorts of fancy dressings on them, and they would worship these things. So when the early Christians came to the members of the Asherah cult and they said, become Christians, they said, well, we can't because, we worship our tree. So the Christians said, that's not a problem. We can have the tree also. Just bring the tree into your house on December 25th. And it became a cholent. They would throw whatever pagan observances they wanted to absorb into December the 25th. And therefore, on December 25th, people brought Christmas trees into their home.
It says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel." So, the Most High had a people, and he was speaking to Jeremiah, to this people. And he was like, listen to what the Lord has to say to you, Israel. "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathens." The heathens are all the other nations that are not Israel. He said, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen." Hold on, that way is, it says, a road as trodden, figuratively a course of life or mode of action. It says, along a way because plus by conversation, custom, manner. So it says, learn not the way, the custom, the manner, the road, the life of the heathen, the other nations. It says, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So when you see things happening in the heavens, and he said, don't be made afraid because these things was prophesied to happen, Israel. It says, for the heathen are dismayed at them. The heathen is talking about aliens and all kind of crazy things and worrying about the signs in heaven because they don't know the prophecies that are concerning the heavens, and that was what's going to be happening in the last days. It says, for the customs of the people are vain. Customs are ordinances, customs, manner, statutes. So you have different customs, different traditions that the other nations do. He says the customs of the people are vain. That is emptiness or vanity, unsatisfactory, altogether vain. So they don't have no value to the Most High. So a lot of these festivals, customs, rituals, and different things that the other nations do have no value to the Most High. They're vain. And also he says they're an abomination to him. So he says, for one, now he's going to, you see that mark there, that lets you know that what's coming after that is directly associated with what's came before it. So this is one of the customs of the people that's vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. So one of these covenants is going outside, cutting down a tree, bringing it inside your house, and decking it with gold and silver.
That's a Christmas tree, bro.
Exactly. So that has no value with the Most High. That's vain. That's an abomination. That says they are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. Letting you know that when you set a Christmas tree up in your house, you're setting up a false god. Because this was one of the ancient rituals that came down from ancient Babylon. And then the Catholic Church changed this into Christmas or Christ Mass. So the scriptures tells us, so it don't matter what our intentions is or what we are as people. The Lord said this is an abomination. So we as individuals have to find out, Lord, what is your will? What is your purpose? That I might please you, so that you will not cut me off from the people, so that you will not destroy me. Because when Christ comes back, he's going to wipe the wicked off of the face of the earth. Everybody worry about going to heaven, and it's about the kingdom being set up on earth. So the thing is, you want to stay on the earth. You don't want to get wiped off the face of the earth like a plague, like a sickness, and be cleansed. So that's why we got to get the evil and the wickedness out of us, so that we won't have to get wiped out when the wickedness get wiped out, because Christ is coming to vanquish evil.
What about mistletoe? Okay, this is one of my favorites. Mistletoe is a highly poisonous plant, an extremely toxic plant. You have to be very careful when you handle it. And a classic Christmas observance is that you hang a bow of mistletoe on your front door. Okay, where did this come from? So Norse mythology recounts how the god Balder was killed using a mistletoe arrow by his rival Hoder while fighting for the female Nanna. So Druid rituals, which were built on this Norse mythology, used mistletoe for human sacrifice. They used to poison children with mistletoe, and that would be their sacrifice. How did it end up that people would give kisses under the mistletoe? That's a modern custom, is that a man grabs a woman and kisses her under the mistletoe. So the answer is, it was a synthesis of these Norse Druid mythology rituals of killing people with mistletoe, a mixture of that and the December 25th custom of wild sexual license. And in fact, only today in civilized America do we just give kisses under the mistletoe. As recently as 100 years ago, in Europe, on December 25th, it was considered completely acceptable for a man to grab a woman in the streets on December 25th and do whatever he wanted with her. And no one could have any complaints if she was out of her house on December 25th, she was fair game. And that was part of the Saturnalia, part of the grand celebrations of December 25th.